In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make my version of pasta alla norma that might be better than your nonna's. If there's one recipe that represents the slow foods movement for me personally, it's this old world OG pasta alla norma for so many reasons that I'll get into. The hallmarks of pasta alla norma are fresh summer seasonal ingredients, and I'm starting with some homegrown vine-ripened Juliette tomatoes, eggplant, and basil from my mom's garden, some Parmigiano Reggiano, an onion, and penne pasta plus seasonings. Growing up in my vegetarian mom's kitchen and having spent some time in Italy in my earlier years, I've developed an affinity for all types of tomatoes, and these Juliette tomatoes are my favorite ones to cook with. My 5-year-old daughter is already a Swiftie and knows all the words to Love Story, so these words come to mind as I type out this script.
Marry me, Juliet, you'll never have to be alone. I love you, and that's all I really know.
Nailed it. Kind of. But in all seriousness, Juliette tomatoes are amazing. They're aroma varietal, excellent for making sauce, and my mom grows bountiful amounts of them every summer. Tomatoes are also the lifeblood of Italian cooking, but that wasn't always the case. Thought to have originally been cultivated by Peruvian Aztecs, the tomato arrived to southern Italy in the 16th century and became a thriving staple of the Sicilian cornucopian agriculture. First bit of prep is very simple. I just want you to slice any type of vine-ripened tomato, preferably cherry, grape, or Roma, or Juliette, in half to prep for roasting low and slow. After you have prepped your tomatoes, roughly chop an onion and add it to the roasting pan. I'm sure I'll get tomato roasted in the comments section for this move because it's non-traditional, but I do love adding roasted onions to my tomato sauces. Because I'm a slow foods movement fanboy, I always opt for fresh garlic and never use processed garlic. Embrace the garlic smash technique because it's the quickest way to get the pesky skins off the cloves. Yes, it's an extra step, but these extra steps filled with love are worth it to deliver something extraordinary. Now I want you to add a healthy dose of olive oil to the roasting pan and mix everything together with a generous pinch of salt and pepper. And then once everything is stirred together, use the best kitchen tool God gave you and put those opposable thumbs and phalanges to work by flipping over as many tomatoes as possible so they're facing up when roasting. Low and slow is key here to achieving roasted tomato perfection. I like 1.5 to 2 hours around 300 degrees Fahrenheit. The second iconic summer vegetable Sicily has produced and relied on for centuries is the eggplant. With Arabic, Moroccan, Greek, Spanish, and many other influences, Sicily and its culinary history have become a true melting pot. Eggplant was introduced by the Arabs to Sicily well over 1,000 years ago, and it has become a star in Sicilian cooking. While eggplant itself is not very exciting, being able to create magic with eggplant is a prime example in culinary history of cucina povera, or peasant food. I would have liked a bit more eggplant, but my mom's garden only had these two so far, and I was craving pasta alla norma, so I have to make do. I want you to slice the eggplants into cubes, and instead of sweating them to draw moisture out, which means salting and resting them for at least an hour, I just use the microwave and nuke them with salt for about 10 minutes until they've browned a little. I've sprayed a paper towel with a bit of non-stick cooking spray so the eggplant doesn't stick to the plate. My mom's thumb has become greener and greener over the years, and although she's always instilled in me the importance of eating fresh, whole seasonal foods, she's now become an avid gardener, and I've been voraciously consuming Juliette tomatoes for the past decade. Similar to the prized San Marzano strain, which can only be labeled so if grown in a certain area, I'm officially declaring the half-acre of garden space in the Trinity Park neighborhood to be a certified Juliette tomato acreage for the Durham, North Carolina varietal. Checking in on the tomatoes after about an hour, they definitely need to go a little bit longer. You want them to look slightly shriveled before you take them out, something like this. Oh man, look at these, a roasted tomato perfection. If only Elon or Zuckerberg could invent something useful like smell-o-vid and you guys could be right here with me. It smells absolutely incredible. Basil is another traditional ingredient in pasta alla norma, so the final bit of prep is to chop up some freshly picked basil from my mom's garden, and I'm also going to mince a couple more cloves of garlic to saute with the eggplant. When I lived in Italy, I learned to appreciate the cultural norm they've developed to use fresh, seasonal ingredients. Many best and most famous Italian dishes are so good, not because of the complexity, but rather because of high-quality ingredients and a little technique. They care about honoring tradition, using locally sourced fresh seasonal ingredients, and they care about preparing foods with love and eating slowly with friends and family. These are all characteristics of the slow foods movement, which is something I've learned to appreciate in my older years. This world has gotten too fast and it's time to slow down. Spend time with friends and family, new and old, and break bread over a home-cooked meal. I truly believe demonstrating these values to my children is paramount to building lifelong healthy habits, not only for their body but also for their mind. I'm terrified learning how to converse over a home-cooked meal is something future generations won't be accustomed to. Okay, so the prep is done and the tomatoes are ready. These tomatoes are so good, you can eat them on bread, as a side dish, turn them into sauce, or just snack on them. But here I'm going to pulverize half of them into the sauce for my pasta alla norma, and save the rest for topping the pasta. All of this can be done ahead of time as well, or the day before, but everything going forward are the finishing steps for the recipe, and it's now time to get your pasta cooking. While the pasta is cooking, saute some of the freshly minced garlic and part of the chopped basil in some olive oil, and add the nuked eggplant after about 30 seconds as soon as the garlic becomes fragrant. Add the eggplant to the pan and let it fry up for a little bit, and then add the pulverized sauce to the pan. Most recipes will tell you to reduce the sauce to concentrate the flavor, but we accomplished that already by slow roasting the tomatoes. Make sure you save a cup or so of pasta water and pull your pasta just at al dente. I always try to finish cooking the pasta in the sauce whenever possible, because the noodles will absorb some of that sauce and elevate your dish. Because I want to vigorously stir the pasta, I needed to transfer it to the pot instead of a sauté pan, which allows me to get after it a little bit more. I'm adding a quarter cup or so of pasta water at a time to the noodles and sauce and stirring vigorously, which allows the starches to mix with the sauce, thicken it, and cling to the noodles. It creates something magical when noodle and sauce become one. I've chosen a penne-shaped pasta here as well because the ridges and tubular shape are perfect for this eggplant sugo. I absolutely love pasta alla norma for a couple reasons, but mainly because it encompasses what the slow foods movement is all about: using fresh seasonal summer produce, taking time to transform the simple ingredients with your hands into something perfect, and honoring a centuries-old recipe and tradition which came from arguably the most important agricultural island in the history of mankind. Sicilian agriculture powered the Roman Empire for centuries, and when the mass migration from Italy to the United States happened in the late 19th and early 20th century, most of those Italian immigrants came from Sicily, fleeing from poverty. Go America! And you know what all of those Italian-American nonnas made damn sure of? Preserving the cultural value of good quality food and family, seen to this day in Italian-American culture. Now, traditional pasta alla norma is topped with ricotta salata, but I didn't have any, and it's hard for me to cheat on my first true love, Parmigiano Reggiano, so that's what I'm using here to finish. My mother's a vegetarian and makes the best vegetarian food I've ever had, in part because she uses the best and freshest ingredients she can find. And every time I eat pasta alla norma, I'm reminded of how important that is, how even something as simple as tomatoes and eggplant can be transformed into something magical if you take the time and cook with love. It helps to have access to Mom's garden too. As always, I believe if you embrace slow foods, discover new flavors, and cook with love for those you love most in this world, you can change your life.
Marry me, Julie.